In a new op-ed for NBC, California Representative Eric Swalwell gives readers an inside look into just how much theater and dirty tricks lawmakers really engage in. He writes, "You may be surprised to know that most of the right-wing House members who spend endless hours on Fox News smearing Democrats actually want to be backslapping buddies with us when the cameras are off." No, I'm not surprised by that at all. But he continues to write, "Some have defamed me on national television or by tweet, and then within a day approached me in a hallway or on the House floor, smiling and wanting to chat me up. They seem surprised when I don't want to share pleasantries. To them, they're just playing the game." So I get how someone who isn't in the know could be confronted with that kind of culture and be shocked by it. But guys, they do it out in the open all the time. I mean, they play the game, they go after one another aggressively, viciously. And then, I mean, I want to say behind the scenes, but not really. I mean, kind of in our faces, they do stuff like what I'm about to show you. Let's start off with the first video where you will see Kamala Harris giving Senator Lindsey Graham a fist bump on the Senate floor. And this is wow. The Republican Party is denying that Joe Biden legitimately won the 2020 general election. This is wow. People like Senator Lindsey Graham are claiming without a shred of evidence that there was widespread voter fraud in the 2020 general election. Okay, fist bumps. So let's go on Fox and put out all these ridiculous accusations that will make people question the legitimacy of Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris winning the election. And then on the Senate floor, fist bump time. Then you have Senator Kyrsten Sinema, who's awful, just voted down a $15 an hour minimum wage. But remember, before she did that, she gave Senator Mitch McConnell a little tap on the back to let him know, I got you, homie. I'm gonna vote down that $15 an hour minimum wage hike. So that happened. And then how can we forget when California's wonderful Senator Dianne Feinstein gave Lindsey Graham a nice big bear hug during the Amy Coney Barrett confirmation hearing. They're besties. So yeah, it's not really that surprising, Francesca. The theater that we see on cable television has substituted actual substantive governing and legislating.
First of all, Di-Fi gets a pass, okay? She did not know who she was hugging in that moment, and you can't hold her to that. That's just, honestly, she thought it was her grandkid. Lindsey Graham looks like him, his name is Graham. I don't know what she was thinking. We don't know what Dianne Feinstein's thinking half the time. Her staff doesn't either. Oh my God, why is she still in the Senate? But yes. If I watch that fist bump video one more time, I think I'm gonna turn into a frog. I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm just like, part of my soul leaves my body every single time I watch that. It's very upsetting. I will say this though, Eric Swalwell is not Kamala Harris. He doesn't have the power of the vice presidency. And I do commend him for at least openly stating this, if nothing else, to give us fodder when we catch him doing the exact same thing so we can call him on it. But it is really striking for people who aren't in the Beltway or who don't watch Veep, who to know that like, yeah, all these Republicans turn their backs and are like wannabe chums, but then like, talk crap about them on Fox News. And it is mostly theater, and it is mostly a game. And I assume that means Swalwell says is saying it's not a game to him. And to be totally honest with you, I do think that there are senators and there are congresspeople who, when you hear them speak, when you see them back up their speech with action, with the bills that they introduce, I believe them. I see. That's action. That's action being put behind, their so-called theatrics, right? So I'm glad he named it, and I think it's interesting because he's basically saying, I don't want to play anymore.
Yeah, I mean, he's saying it. And look, to be fair, I mean, I haven't personally witnessed Eric Swalwell engaging in the nonsense theater and the wars of cults of personality. And really, I am glad that he put this out there because it gives me yet another opportunity to talk about why it is that the discourse that takes place among lawmakers is garbage and doesn't actually serve any of their constituents' interests. They give you the culture wars and they give you like the, shallow nonsense conflicts because they're looking for a way to deflect from the fact that they're gonna do nothing to improve your life.
Yeah.
That's why Republicans talk about Dr. Seuss. That's why they talk about cancel culture incessantly. And look, I think that there are legitimate conversations to have about cancel culture, but I'm done with lawmakers chiming in or weighing in on that. One of my favorite political scholars who isn't with us anymore, he passed away in 2011, talks about this in great detail, why it is that you have various parties engaging in nonsense as opposed to substantive governing and legislating. And I mean, he talks about it in the context of the UK, but I think it also applies to the United States where he argues, and this is Peter Mayer in the book, Ruling the Void, the age of party democracy, small d, has passed. Although the parties themselves remain, they have become so disconnected from the wider society and pursue a form of competition that is so lacking in meaning that they no longer seem capable of sustaining democracy in its present form. So in other words, the reason why we see culture wars and cults of personality is because that's where our attention is intentionally being directed. And in the meantime, all of the substantive issues that impact our lives on a daily basis, those tend to get neglected. And that's part of the reason why I'm happy to hear more and more discussions in the media about the nuts and bolts of policy as opposed to ridiculous conversations about, who's popular, who would you rather have a drink with, what are they gonna ban next, what should we boycott next? All that stuff is nonsense. And I know I've said nonsense a million times, but it's true.
No, it is really important to debate. Like when you start to feel yourself tuning out, you're like, oh wait, this is actually substantive, and then you snap back into it. Like we've all been there, but I'm saying like it is, news is not supposed to just be entertainment and politics are not supposed to just be entertainment. At the same time, it's not just supposed to be for an elite few who understand how the system works. So it's not only that they're sort of, they all are often beholden to the same corporations and the same lobbyists and donors, but they understand and have set up the rules as in the filibuster to protect a minority, right? To protect their rule. And they rely on our ignorance about that system in order to perpetuate it, right? And then they're all chummy in behind the scenes because that's all theater, right? And I think there's an interesting debate, which is how much do Republicans actually believe their own BS? I heard a story about Bill O'Reilly that like someone was with Bill O'Reilly like smoking a cigarette out after like a show that was like incredibly contentious, and Bill's just like, so this is all theater, right? This is all I just say that stuff, and it like took this person for one because you never know. Did the Bush administration believe they were actually, bringing democracy to Iraq? I don't think so. I don't think so at all. But like, I think it's a little column A and little column B. You sort of start to believe your own BS when you're sitting in it to a certain extent. But yeah, I mean, this is the thing why we also need more than two parties, Anna. That's just the last thing I'm gonna say is like that a multi-party system can actually help some of this toxic culture.
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, every attempt at a third party in recent election cycles has been questionable to say the least, but I hear what you're saying. And look, in the UK, obviously they don't have a two-party system. And Peter Mayer was specifically writing about how the various parties were positioning themselves in order to focus on the conflicts and all of the stuff that doesn't actually substantively impact our lives. But as you were giving those examples, Francesca, I thought about another example, and that's former House Speaker John Boehner, who's been in the news lately because he put out some memoir, which I'm not really interested in. But when he was in power, when he was in Congress, he was vehemently against marijuana legalization. He thought that it would lead to, like, it was the gateway drug, it's going to lead to society falling apart. And then what did he do immediately after he was no longer in office? Started working in the private marijuana industry. So yeah, I just, like, obviously the drug war is serious, but that's part of the culture war issue that, Republicans decided to, focus on. And it just goes on and on and on. At the end of the day, people need healthcare. People need to get paid appropriately for their work. People should, we need to do something about inequality. These are actual substantive issues that they don't want you to focus on. Immigration is another one, really. I mean, I know we talk about immigration quite a bit, but do we have real substantive conversations about what leads to, migrants trying to come into the United States? Why do we have an influx of migrants at the border? Are we willing to change our foreign policy? Are we willing to have those difficult discussions? We here at TYT are, independent news outlets are, but our lawmakers certainly are not, because very few of them, in fact, only one of them, AOC, has brought up how our foreign policy has impacted immigration. Those are not the substantive discussions that you're gonna see among lawmakers these days.
How many Congress people want to be friends with AOC though secretly, right? They're like, hey, what's up? Like passing her in the hallway. Hey, oh, I hate your outfit anyway. So is that Chanel? You know what I mean? Like that's, how much does that cost? It's so high school, it's so gross. Like you could imagine how many like fawning Republican Congress people just want to talk to her. But yeah, you're right. Things like that, immigration, it's a political football. You just pass it back and forth, score political points, don't really care about the actual people suffering.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.